So after Merab Dvalishvili's big win over Sean O'Malley at the Sphere, it's that time once again where we need to rank all his possible opponents to see how they'd do against Merab. We're going to start off straight away with who I believe is next in line for the title shot, and that is Umar Nagmadze. I've put Umar in the 50-50 tier because if you look at the fight stylistically and skill-wise, Umar does hit harder than Merab. Umar's got similar wrestling to Merab. Umar's more versatile on the feet, and Umar seems to have better ability to get finishes. He's got really snappy kicks, which are great to watch, but now this might seem that I'm going to pick Umar to win, but what tips the fight in Merab's favour is the fact that he's just a machine. He has this weird ability to break every opponent that he fights. Like, we've never seen Piotr Jan or Henry Cejudo broke in the same way that Merab did to them. He's got this weird, relentless ability to break the opponent's will in every single fight, and Umar's never fought at nearly that sort of pace, so you have to favour Merab. We move on to another title contender option, and that is Deiveson Figueiredo. Now, just like Umar, Figueiredo seems like someone who would beat Merab based on his skill set. He's got ridiculous power in his hands, he's got good jiu-jitsu, he's a strong guy, and he's just destructive and violent in general. Very explosive. He's got great submission ability, but to me, he seems like someone who would get easily overwhelmed by Merab's pressure. Against Brandon Moreno in the second and fourth fight, we saw in the second fight he got submitted and held down for most of the fight. And in the fourth fight, Figueiredo spent most of the fight on his back. Merab being a much better wrestler than Moreno, he should win with his wrestling. But Figueiredo does have a chance with his explosiveness and his guillotines. We move on to another potential option down the line, and that is a Sean O'Malley rematch. Now, my take on that first fight that just took place: once the novelty of Merab winning the belt and Sean O'Malley losing the title has worn off, think about the fight for what it was, right? Round 3 was very close. You can argue that for Sean O'Malley because of damage at the end of the round. Round 5 was Sean O'Malley's. He hurt Merab really bad with a teep kick, but he just seemed to lack the finishing instinct to finish off Merab or actually cause any real damage after the initial teep kick. So what lost Sean the fight, in my opinion, was more to do with his lack of commitment and his hesitance in the fight. But at the end of the day, it was still a 48-47 decision. And if Sean O'Malley landed like a big left hook or just some sort of big shot that wobbled Merab in rounds 1, 2 or 4, he would have won the fight. So it's very winnable for Sean O'Malley, and I do see a rematch happening down the line. We move on to our current flyweight champ, Alejandria Panoa. Now, Panoa does have great power in his hands. He does have really good jiu-jitsu, but for me, he's just too unathletic. He's too zombie-like. He's too slow and small. He's not big enough to beat Merab or really trouble him. A bit like Figueiredo, has got good skills to beat Merab, but I just don't think he'll match the pace whatsoever, and that's why he's in low chance. Now, at this point, I've actually run out of fighters at 135 pounds. So at this point, we're just looking at featherweights. And our first featherweight is going to be Alain Sterling. Now, I've always thought Aljo was the one to beat Merab in that division, but obviously the fight would never happen because him and Aljo are really good friends. But I do think Aljo's really tricky for Merab. I think Aljo's naturally stronger. He's great with control time. He's great with submissions. And I think Aljo's the better, more versatile striker. So the question really is, can Aljo match Merab's pace for 5 rounds? I don't know. So that's what makes it a tricky fight, but obviously the fight will never happen. We move on to someone who's just introduced himself to the title picture at 145 pounds, and that is Diego Lopez. Now, Lopez might be the most outright dangerous fighter on this list just because of his explosiveness. He's got really powerful hands, he's got great finishing ability, and he's also really dangerous on the ground as well, which makes it really tricky for Merab. But obviously what flips the fight in favour of Merab is the cardio. Lopez has at best 2 rounds of good cardio before he starts to really slow down, and Merab has maybe the best cardio in MMA ever. I can't think of anyone with better cardio than Merab that I've seen in MMA. So if Merab gets out the first 2 rounds, he's fine. We move on to our first fighter who I really believe will beat Merab, and that is our current champion, Ilia Topuria. This has got to be my opinion because not only does Topuria have some of the most dangerous boxing, some of the best striking in the sport, he's also very naturally strong. He's a great wrestler technically, he's got submission ability, and he's got great takedown defence to go with it. I don't see any path to victory for Merab whatsoever, so I think he should stay away from moving up for now. Moving on to someone who's about to fight for Topuria's belt, we have Max Holloway. Now, I was tempted to put Max Holloway in the will win tier because we haven't actually seen Holloway held down by anyone in the wrestling for about 10 years. I think the last time we saw that was against Conor McGregor in 2014. So he's been taken down before, but like he's always got straight back up. Now this could suggest that Holloway's either a really good defensive wrestler, which he is, or someone who hasn't fought any real grapplers recently, because featherweight is full of strikers at the end of the day, and he's not fought someone who's really tried to take him down besides Frankie Edgar, who's more of a bantamweight, is very small for that division. So it's hard to tell how much Merab's wrestling moving up in weight will affect Holloway, but either way, it's hard to call, so I've left it in the 50-50 tier. We move on to the final opponent on the list, and that is Alexander Volkanovski. Volk is joining Topuria in the will win tier because I really don't see any path to victory for Merab whatsoever. If I just show you this highlight reel of Volkanovski's takedown defence against the best grappler in the sport right now, you'll see how a bantamweight is not going to affect Volkanovski whatsoever. Regardless of pace, because Volkanovski, I've never seen him slow down in a fight, the pace won't affect Volk whatsoever. And obviously the striking, there's no need to explain who's the better striker, so I do think Volk will bully him the whole fight. End of the video. Goodbye.